Just Hockey Show. I'm the Trev. It's too sweet. Yeah, that should say it all. I have another prediction video for you. And it's more or less a prediction and a going over how the semifinals went as far as the Western Conference is concerned. Which officially ended today, and now we're moving on to the Western Conference Finals. And do you remember the 2020 final? Because it's like that all over again. But we'll get to that. And like I said, we'll talk about how I did prediction-wise in the Western Conference semifinals before I give you my prediction for the Clarance Campbell Bowl Winner, which is the winner of the Western Conference in the playoffs. So having said that, let's talk about it. So continuing to look at the bracket. I have to say, as far as the semifinals was concerned, it was pretty entertaining. I mean, Edmonton and Vegas was getting all kinds of violent near the end, and Joe Pavelski gave me PTSD. That happens when you score a 4-goal game, I guess. But either way, there was no shortage of storylines as far as the Western Conference semifinals was concerned. Now, as far as predicting went, I went 1 for 2 in the semifinals. Overall in the West, that leaves me 4 for 6. And overall in the playoffs altogether, that leaves me 7 for 12 as far as predictions is concerned. The only one I predicted right in terms of game numbers was Vegas going over Edmonton in 6. So, let's dive a little bit deeper into them. So, Oilers fans, I hate to say I told you so, but I told you so. Really, I mean, it's not to say it wasn't entertaining when it wasn't a high goal scoring game. It actually looked like an actual game of strategy on both ends. And unfortunately for the Oilers, they just burned out too quick. I mean, yeah, the Oilers were playing dirty. So was Vegas. Let's not call a spade on this one. But the better team obviously came out. So for Vegas, this is their 4th trip to the Western Conference Finals in 6 years. Obviously, last year missing the playoffs and then getting back to the conference finals this year must feel really, really nice. Obviously, the question about goaltending has been answered, even if it's just in a short-term form of Aiden Hill. Hey, if they can ride it, they can ride it, right? And I mean, with the scoring with Eichel and Stevenson and Stone and Marchessault now and Carlson, it's not hard to see how they were completely outshooting guys like McDavid and Draisaitl and Kane occasionally, and sometimes Nugent Hopkins. Secondary scoring for Edmonton was not there, but it is completely there for Vegas, which is a good thing given the opponents they have. Hell of a run, man. Hell of a run. I will discuss it more at length in a separate video, because I do plan on wrapping up the Kraken season as well. So expect 2 videos out of that. But yeah, no, it kind of went exactly the formula for Dallas. I mean, let Seattle have their way at least the first 3, maybe first 4, and then shut them down the rest of the way. Unfortunately, it went 7 instead of 6, like compared to Minnesota. But again, with the usual suspects, Rupi Heinz, Jason Robertson, Joe Pavelski, of all people, and like I said, he triggered some form of PTSD during these playoffs for me. It wasn't nice, but you deal with it as you go, right? Right. But on top of that, I mean, Ottinger was playing like Ottinger. I mean, the fact he let in as many goals as he did kind of was a bit of a surprise, but at the same token, I mean, when he did let in a lot, that was usually 2 or 3. So there were nights where it was a bit more lopsided one way, and there was nights when there was a bit more lopsided the other way. Either way, hell of a run. That's all I'm going to say. Hell of a run. Like I said, I'll expand more on it. But now for Dallas, this is their 2nd trip to the conference finals since 2020. Now, ironically enough, in 2020, they played Vegas. And ironically enough, in 2020, they beat Vegas in 5 to lose the Stanley Cup in 2020. So this should be an interesting kind of rematch matchup. I mean, there are big differences, and a lot of them are in Vegas. So let's talk about it. I mean, obviously, the biggest and most noticeable difference is it's not in the bubble. There'll actually be home ice, if home ice still means anything to either team. So that's a big plus. I mean, obviously, there's other big differences in Dallas, too. Like, they have more than just one scoring threat between Heinz, Robertson, Pavelski, Sagan, and sometimes Ben. Compared to Vegas, who has Eichel now and Stone. Pietrangelo's holding it down nicely and being a pest to every team that he's encountered, which is a good thing. I mean, if you're going to get far, you need a pest, right? Right. You also got Carlson, who's showing up when he's good and ready, and when he is good and ready, he blows right up. But all differences aside, I mean, I think I see both teams kind of playing to each other's strength in a lot of ways. Like, Vegas plays to the other team's style first, and then traps them into playing their own style. So essentially, the one team is playing itself entirely. Whereas Dallas is methodical in a sense. They'll let you have their way, but then once you do and they've figured you out, you're in a lot of trouble. Either way, that's going to be very entertaining and hopefully full of goals. As both teams have proven, they can score a lot of goals a lot of times. So one would hope that, anything less than 5-4 games would almost be unacceptable. But making my pick out of these two, and ultimately picking the winner of the Western Conference, essentially the winner of the Clarance Campbell Bowl, I think it's pretty solid on this end, and I know I shouldn't, just because I just feel like a rivalry is being built in this sense. I'm going to say Vegas in 6. Ultimately, it's to the point where Vegas has tried so hard to get it right, and I think they might have it right. At least as far as getting back to the Cup is concerned. I'm not going to pick a Cup winner right now. I'll wait till, the Cup finals are about to start for that. But I think Vegas has too much going down the center, too much on the points. Goaltending, it's going to come down to that for both ends. And I mean, I think for as well as Ottinger will keep Dallas in, he'll keep Vegas in a lot more so, and Vegas also has the defense to back him up. But as I said, it'll be a very high-scoring affair, I hope. I would hope that Jack Eichel is just going to explode with points, but that's the hope anyway. But I'm calling Vegas to be your 2023 Clarence Campbell Trophy winners, and you can take that one to Vegas. No pun intended. Let me know who you think is winning the 2023 Western Conference Finals. So no one watches hockey shows. Oh, thank you for tuning in. Don't think I don't appreciate the gesture, especially if you've made it to this point. And if you have, know that I appreciate you very much. To everybody who's been pushing that red button lately, thank you so very, very much. I do appreciate it, and I thank you very much for hoping that we can get to 250 a lot sooner than the end of the year. But if you're here, if you stayed the whole way, if you want to say hi, if you dig what I'm doing, hit that like button. That red one that says subscribe all over it, you want to. Come on, we're almost at 250. Let's make that happen. And it'll make it feel good. So when did ever, feel good ever be a bad thing? Social I never use. It's in the description down below. So moving forward, like I said, I'm going to have 2 cracking videos for you. So look for those. One's going to be a regular season, one's going to be a playoff video. But either way, in the meantime, and in between time, be looking forward to some Trev. Later.